Welcome, beloved souls. Welcome back if you've been here before. My name is Vivia, and this is my channel, Your Soul as Well, where I use astrology to help us navigate our shifting and exciting and sometimes turbulent times. Today's video, I want to speak with you about Pluto aspecting the planets or the more important cusps of the angular houses, AC, MC, IC, MC. I feel that this is what I need to do right now because I just think you need to know, honestly, because there's so many ways that Pluto could affect your chart, and one of the ways is reading it by the rising sign, but also understanding the other planetary placements if Pluto is coming into contact with them is going to be important. So I want to give that to you, and that is today's video. So it will be important if you have planets in Aquarius, any planets in Aquarius, not just your ascendant in Aquarius. Welcome, beloved souls. Welcome back if you've been here before. My name is Vivia, and this is my channel, Your Soul as Well, where I use astrology to help us navigate our shifting and exciting and often turbulent times. Thank you for being here with me. I want to remind everybody that this is what I do for work. And if you like the content that I'm producing here, please join my channel, hit like, subscribe, and leave me a comment. Let me know what you think. Remember to hit the notification bell because I'm uploading regularly now and I would not want you to miss your upload. So Pluto in Aquarius, this transit will last 20 years pretty much. I think a bit over when we consider that it already ingressed into Aquarius and then moved back and then ingresses again, and I think it does then it moves from Aquarius into Pisces, and then I think it comes back one time. Let me just look quickly. Around March 9th of 2043, which is a really long ways from now, right? It dips into Pisces. It goes into Pisces and then it stays there in Pisces for that first dip into Pisces for about 6 months, and then it dips back, then it goes back into Aquarius at the beginning of September 2043. Then around January 20th, 2044 is when Pluto goes into Pisces and stays there. So we have a long time. Pluto in Aquarius. I just want to remind you that I did a general reading on this on Pluto already. If you want to go back and listen to that reading just to get a general idea of some of the themes. But Pluto is the planet of destruction and rejuvenation, of metamorphosis, of complete change. Obviously, if you have your sun or your moon or a stellium or any placement in Aquarius, this is going to affect you. And in these first beginning years, it will affect you if any of your placements in Aquarius are at the beginning degrees, because that's where Pluto is right now, in the very beginning degrees. Currently, Pluto's in its second degree of Aquarius. And so if you have your sun, or like I said, your moon, or any of those other placements, then yes, Pluto is affecting you, these placements as well. So your sun is about primarily like your career goals, but also the men in your life. So it doesn't just reflect, like it's your career goals and your purpose and how you purpose yourself, the things that you want to achieve. So if it is your sun, let's say, that's at this degree, you think in terms of Pluto transforming your goals and what you're trying to achieve and your purpose. You might all of a sudden realize, I need to go on a different path, because you might all of a sudden one day understand something different about the path that you need to pursue and the goals that you need to pursue. Those might change. And again, you might have a sudden, and it might not be easy, because Pluto is not easy. Like I have said in all my videos when I've addressed Pluto, there's a way to work with Pluto that is easier. And we do that by not resisting Pluto, by allowing the change, by allowing the transformation, by understanding and getting behind that our lives need to transform and that we need to do the work to transform it. You might suddenly understand that you need to change the course of direction that your life is in. It could involve your work or what you see as your purpose. It's what you see as your progress. The sun has a lot to do with progress. And you might desire to seek more fulfillment through influencing people, influencing others. So now, of course, in this day and age, we think of social media and influence that way, but there's so many ways to influence that aren't necessarily online. It could be within your own community, within your own family, within a group that you belong to, or at work, within your own professional career, which may or may not involve social media. But I just want you to get out of the idea, if I say to influence, that it has to be all online. It does not have to be all online. So yes, you might all of a sudden have a desire to be more influential and more effective. You could overestimate, with Pluto coming in conjunction with your sun, how much energy you have or what your strength is. So there might be times where you might feel all powered up, fueled up, and ready to go, and other times just really drained and depleted and needing to just reassess and come back at it later. Remember, this is a 20-year transit, and not everything has to be done at once. So as if you do have your sun in that first placement, you can just understand, just try to comprehend that Pluto is going to come through. It's going to help your sun. It might break parts down of your ego. The sun is very connected to the ego. It might break things down about how, like, it might show you some of your less pleasant, let's put it this way, personality traits that you have to own and face and maybe change if you do want to grow and become more of a visible person, a more influential person, a person who is seen with perhaps more power to shift society, or whatever context you would like to put that into, whatever that means for you in your life. If your moon placement is here, you could have Aquarius rising with also your sun or your moon here, or stellium, but you could also just have your moon in Aquarius anywhere, or your sun in Aquarius anywhere in your chart. And if it's your moon, again, in these first initial years of Pluto going through Aquarius, it's going to be more about your moon if your moon is at an early degree of Aquarius as well. The moon represents many things, but it represents our subconscious mind, and Pluto also represents what is unconscious within us. So those two forces coming together might bring up a lot for you that you have never looked at before in your life. It might bring up stuff from your childhood, because the moon is very conditioned, and it's conditioned with memory and patterns, and that is our childhood, that is our ancestry, that is our lineage, and that's also past life. Anyway, in all the ways you want to look at that, please look at it that way. Whatever resonates for you, whatever you can take from that. It's going to bring, when Pluto comes in to contact with your moon, it is going to start bringing things up to the surface that you have tried to maybe ignore, or maybe it's not even that you ignored it. You just honestly didn't know it was there, but now they're coming up to be addressed. And the more that you can address them, sometimes they will be painful. Sometimes they will be humbling. And the more that you can address them, the more power you can hold within your vessel. And that doesn't mean necessarily power over other people. It means empowerment of the self and how you carry yourself and who you are. You may have really powerful emotional outbursts when the moon comes into contact, when Pluto is coming into contact with your moon. And if you are experiencing outbursts, it's generally because this is being triggered. This is really usually triggered by insecurity. The moon is our emotional security, right? It naturally has domain over the fourth house of home, of foundation, of roots, of our ancestry, of our parentage, of our own ability to parent and nurture either ourselves or others around us. When Pluto is aspecting this planet, then you might have these things come up. The moon is also responsible for your home, your foundation, your security, your mother particularly, or your parents. It could be your father as well. I particularly think the fourth house is more of the nurturing side, and there's a lot of fathers that are very nurturing, and my father was very nurturing, bless his soul. And it's not just the mother, but to me, I look at the fourth house as the more nurturing parent, and I look at the 10th house as the more disciplinary parent. So whichever one applies to you. So the moon and Pluto coming into contact with the moon may change things profoundly with your relationship with your mother or your father, the more nurturing parent, the nurturing parent within you, with your home. There could be changes with your home. There could be profound changes with your home if your moon is in Aquarius with Pluto coming up on it. The moon does rule the mind, and what I see it as is this, because it's the subconscious mind that the moon rules, and it is the obsessive, already our unconscious, subconscious tendencies. With Pluto coming into contact with the moon, you might have obsessive tendencies come up. Yeah, obsessiveness and obsessive tendencies might come up, and they're just there to look at, right? They're just there to look at. And if you don't like them, if they no longer serve you, it's time to just eradicate them and replace them with healthier habits. If your Mercury is in Aquarius, then Mercury is the planet of communication, of thought, of our mental abilities, of speaking, writing. It's our immediate also community. It represents our siblings, particularly younger siblings, even cousins as well. It's your vehicle. It's your vehicle of transportation. It has domain over the 3rd house, which is about short distance travel. And if Pluto is coming in contact with Mercury, if your Mercury is in Aquarius, you might just all of a sudden have a lot of psychic ability to communicate information that you may never have had before. It might open this up for you. You might all of a sudden, be able to say things that you didn't expect to say, but they're spot on. They're absolutely right. And they're from a different place. They're from yourself still, but they're more inspired, let's say, and profound truth and psychism may come through you, speaking or writing or communicating. So I want to warn people of this, because people who are not aware of this ability, that it's a very natural ability for humans to be psychic. I want to let you know this, because many people are going to start being able to do this, and it might scare you, and just try not to be scared of it. Just try to understand that being psychism is part of your inherent complex within us, within humans. We are intuitive, creative beings, and we are supposed to be able to tap into the field that is around us and know things, just absolutely know things. So just know that this might start happening with you, and try not to be afraid of it. Fear comes up. Pluto is the planet that most represents fear out of the zodiac. Just try and work through that fear. That's what Pluto wants for you. Pluto wants you to work through your fear so that you can transform into a more powerful being. And again, what I mean by that is empowerment, powerful in the self, not necessarily powering over others or controlling or manipulating others. That's not what I mean when I'm talking about coming into power. Coming into our own power is about coming into our empowerment of self, of true self. So because your psychism and your spidey senses will be so tuned, and you'll be tapping into things so readily, the information will just come and come. You'll have an uncanny ability to get to the truth of matters and dig and excavate like Pluto does. And with Mercury, it's all about information. So you're going to be able to get to the truth of information if you stick with it. Because we want to use these transits to the best of our ability, to use them to the best that they are. With these transits, like Pluto will stay on a point for a year, maybe 2, maybe longer. And it depends on how you look at that orb too. And I don't want to get too much into this right now. My point is that Pluto moves slowly. It's a very impactful and profound transit. And to any point, Sun, Moon, Mercury, the rest, I'll go through my list here. It will stay there for a while. So if you work with it and work with it and work with it, you can develop a skill that is so deep and so genuine and so authentic to you. And it's not going to happen overnight. You do have to work with it. And like I said, it could be scary at first. But when it comes to psychic information, try not to be afraid. And maybe sometime I'll do another video on that particular thing, because I myself have had to go through a lot of fear and work through a lot of fear when it comes to receiving transmissions of psychic information. But for now, I'm just going to stick to today's agenda, Pluto transiting the planets. Okay. So like I said, you're going to be able to get to the truth of the matter, uncover it, and your powers of observation will be intensified. You'll be some of you might, for the first time in your life, and maybe even the only time, I don't know, might be able to finally perceive through the lens of a Scorpio person, because a Scorpionic person has great powers of observation. And in my humble opinion, it's because of Pluto. Pluto is this gift to Scorpio that allows Scorpio sun, Scorpio moon, Scorpio risings, Mercury placement in Scorpio. They're all different. They do a little bit of different things, but still Scorpio stellium, dominant Scorpio, they have such keen powers of observation. And so if your Mercury is there and Pluto is aspecting it, your senses in terms of observation are going to be heightened, and you'll just want to watch for that. One of the challenges for Pluto aspecting Mercury is being drawn to fanatical views. So you'll want to watch for that. You'll want to also watch for nervous exhaustion, because Mercury is one of the rulers, I think Uranus is as well, of the nervous system. So you'll want to just watch for that, because Pluto, like I said, you have to work with Pluto, and Pluto can really break you down. I said it in another video, not this one, by the way. It's my Pluto one. I'll link it here. But Pluto can break you down. If you resist Pluto, it's just better to work with Pluto. Just work with Pluto and let Pluto slowly, deeply, profoundly shift you into your better, more higher version of self. And your mental exhaustion might come through like mental effort, trying to effort something the way you used to do it, maybe in a very physical way, but now more subtleness is required, and more of the intuitive, more of the ethereal, but the psychic realm, more of the psychic realm, more of the invisible, and more of the unseen communication is necessary and required now. If Pluto is aspecting your Venus placement, Venus is about love, right? Venus is our love planet that represents love and affection, how we like affection, how we give affection, how we want affection, the things that we desire, the partners that we're attracted to, particularly women, the women that we are attracted to, but also part of the love complex and how we are, who we are attracted to. It's also our style, how we like to style ourselves, and the clothes that we like to wear, and things that we're drawn to. We look to the Venus placement for that. And so if Pluto is aspecting your Venus, again, right now it's at its early stages. So your Venus, if it's in Aquarius, would have to be in its early stages. But then this video is going to be here, and you come back to it anytime, because when Pluto's at 5 degrees, if that's aspecting your Venus at 5 degrees and your planet at 5 degrees, that's going to be the same. And the same thing towards the end. When it gets to 15 degrees, 20 degrees, 27, you can always come back to this, because this is not relative to the degree that Pluto is at right now, but that Pluto is in Aquarius. So if you have Venus in Aquarius, Pluto is going to start to transform those areas. So it will start to deep dive into your desires, the things that you are drawn to. You're going to start questioning the things that you're drawn to. Do you really, really like those things? Is that really what you want in your life, out of your life? How about your love partners and the people that you're drawn to that way? Or your relationships with women? All these things will be up on the table for reassessment and reevaluation through Pluto's lens. And if they will be broken down to the extent that they need to. Remember that Pluto doesn't necessarily need to come in and rehaul everything in your life. It only wants to do that for the things that are not working for you, the things that are holding you back, and the things that keep you from going on your path the way that you were meant to go on your path. So you could expect to maybe alter the style, how things that you like, maybe how you decorate your home, even especially if Venus is somehow connected to your house, your home, or your moon. You might all of a sudden decide to redecorate, or like I said already, it could be about how you style yourself, how you present yourself, especially if Venus is in your first house or connected connected to your first house somehow. Pluto aspecting Venus is going to have you changing that. You might go through several, for some of you, that might be changing your appearance altogether. Some of you might want to go through extreme changes. Pluto, remember, rules the extreme. So for some of you, that might be things like plastic surgery or really altering your appearance, really altering. And that might be true for Aquarius rising people too with Pluto there, but I'll get to all the rising signs. But for right now with Venus is our appearance, our style. And so that might really come into effect for you. Also, how you express affection and how you even receive affection and what you desire out of affection and out of love, that might come through some profound change. In terms of the portion of relationships that is more intimate and sexual in nature, Venus does play a role. I really think that's more of Mars, but I can see Venus being that too. Venus is more the desire component, while Mars is more of the action planet towards that. It's like, look at Mars, look at the glyph from Mars. Actually, when I get to Mars, I'll get to that. So with Venus, it's like the need for love and the need for companionship. Remember, Venus rules over Libra, and Libra is all about companionship, relationship. So Venus does rule over relationship, and so it might start to change for you how you look at relationship, how you approach relationship, what you want out of relationship, and if and love affairs, right? So Venus and love affairs start under a Plutonian transit might be really obsessive and might not last. It could even be kind of destructive, like not necessarily to be like, completely nihilistic, but there might be an obsessive and compulsive part of it. So just be aware of that. Just know that Pluto magnetizes, but it's very powerful, but it's really obsessive, compulsive. There's a dark undercurrent to some of the themes that will come up with Pluto. Just know that. Just know that you might get that aspect of it in a love relationship if Pluto is aspecting. Well, for me, it's going to be Mars as well, but Venus, definitely Venus and Mars. And it might be really highly magnetic, like I said, but highly sexual as well. So whatever that's worth for you. But just remember that this is happening to help transform you, right? And the main point I'm trying to make is that there needs to be an attitude of transformation towards love relationships, and perhaps even sexual relationships. If your Mars placement is an Aquarius, and if Pluto is aspecting your Mars placement, then, well, like I just said, I just covered some of that. Mars is for me, the more of the component of the sexual desire. Like, look at Mars, look at that glyph of Mars. To me, Mars is testosterone in all of us, right? So like, if you look at the glyph of Mars, it's a circle of spirit with the arrow. And that arrow to me has always been representative of, not always, but like when I learned that Mars was representative of the drive in the human, and it's also representative of the sex drive. And that Mars emblem represents sperm, the human sperm going to hit the egg. And so think of Mars that way. It's your drive and it's your sexual drive. So when Pluto gets there, this can be such an amazing transit, because it's like, in a lot of ways, Pluto and Mars are very compatible. Pluto is said by many to be the higher harmonic or higher octave of Mars. And I personally do look at it this way as well. As if you listen to one of my other videos where I explained that I do consider myself to be a modern evolutionary astrologer. Some people say astrologist. I don't really care. Whichever one is fine with me. And I do look at Pluto being, it's higher. It's not higher in that there's a hierarchy and one is better than the other. Don't hear that. That is not what I mean by that when I say that. It's just harmonic. It's a different expression of it. All right. And with Pluto, with Pluto coming into contact with Mars, this could be a period of extraordinary energy for you. So you would have to have, again, your Mars in Aquarius. You'd have to have that for Pluto to be coming into conjunction. It could also be like squaring or trining, but it could be aspecting it in another way. But this is what I mean when I'm saying this. I mean, primarily the conjunction, primarily you have Mars in Aquarius, then Pluto this is going to be a time of such energy for you, extraordinary energy. You are going to want to watch that you don't burn out. It's going to increase your energy and it's going to increase your stamina. I think you'll have major breakthroughs, increase your will. You'll have, just through your sheer effort alone. Mars again is action and effort with Pluto there, because Pluto can get to the core of things, and Pluto can just eliminate so much that is in your way. I've used the analogy of the combine coming through the field and just tearing up the field and just turning it over. It doesn't even matter what's there in that field. It just comes along and turns it over, and that's Pluto. So it's going to come along and turn over whatever is not working for you to make it work for you. So there's going to be great ability for you to overcome right now whatever has been before you that you have not been able to do. So this is a great time. So keep in mind the energy, and keep in mind too that there's a certain ruthlessness, let's say, to Pluto. And when it comes into combination with Mars, which is so impulsive and it's all that fire and just wants to action, wants to go, go, go. The warning here is to be wary of becoming ruthless, beloved. You could become ruthless, and you have to step back and ask yourself, is that what you want? Do you want to be ruthless? Do you want to overpower the other? Because there's going to be moments, because with all that energy you have, that you will be able to easily overpower the other. And you have to ask yourself if that's what you really want for yourself or for the other. Do you want to win at all costs? Is that your modus operandi, or is there a gentler, more compassionate avenue where all parties can win somehow? Just keep in mind that the ruthless behavior and winning over all costs can lead to or create violent opposition from the other. So just remember that, beloved. If you have Jupiter in Aquarius and Pluto is aspecting Jupiter, well, Jupiter's benevolence and optimism and expands and is a grandeur and vision, faith. The Pluto coming into contact with Jupiter is going to start to deconstruct the things that you believe in, the things that you have had faith in. It might even lead to a faith crisis. You might all of a sudden question your faith, doubt it. The fear might come up around all the things that you believe, or even new beliefs that are coming in. Maybe there's fear around those. But overall, I think that it will increase your vision of yourself. It's going to profoundly shift your vision of life and what you believe of yourself. And it's all going to be directed towards improving oneself. And it might even deal with your public influence or how you are viewed. Again, that depends on your own placement, where it is in your chart. But Jupiter is the planet of inspiration. So for some of you, you'll be able to be powerful influencers. Again, it doesn't necessarily have to be on social media, how we now colloquially know what is to be an influencer. It could be within your own tiny community. It could be within your business organization. It could be within your family. It could also be social media. That also exists. So it's going to start to profoundly change, again, your vision, also how others see you, and how maybe you start to show up as an influencer, a person who can help shift worldviews or help shift the world for the better. If it is your faith that Pluto is breaking down, then there's going to be a rebirth of it, a rebirth of your faith, of your spirituality, of your optimism. Because remember, Pluto isn't just here to just like tear things down and destroy things. There's a purpose to Pluto. And for Pluto, it's the regeneration. It's the rebirth, right? It's the phoenix rising from the ashes. Just remember that. It's the phoenix rising from the ashes. With Jupiter and Saturn both, you're going to want to watch with conflicts with authority that might happen. And as well with Pluto conjuncting Jupiter, there might be a sense of inflation to your own self-importance or self-worth. So keeping egos in check would be great. That's Sun too, your Sun as well. If Pluto is aspecting your Saturn, so if your Saturn is in Aquarius, then this could be difficult, is that Saturn tends to resist change. Probably out of all the planets, Saturn is the one that holds on the most, because it likes structure, it likes the old ways, it likes the old, prefers the old to the new. And so with Pluto coming up on Saturn, there's going to be perhaps stuff from your past. So with Saturn is just more of a difficult planet to begin with. The greater malefic. Saturn is the greater malefic. That's why it's called that. It's more difficult to work with, and it could lead to a stressful time. It could be they're both powerful planets, right? Pluto powerful, Saturn. So maybe some of your structures, needing to break down the structures that you have, or your own constraints, things about your past comes up for me. Things about your lineage comes up, and family history comes up when I look at Saturn and commitments, the things if you committed to. Pluto's coming up in Saturn. So if you have Saturn in Aquarius, by conjunction, it's going to have you reevaluating your commitments, the things that you have committed yourself to. Maybe those things are no longer applicable in your life. Maybe your life needs a whole new course, and what you have committed to no longer serves you, no longer makes any sense. So Pluto's coming now. It's going to deconstruct this. It's going to have you face this. It's going to have you look at what it is that you need out of your life for your highest evolution, because that's what Pluto wants. Pluto wants for us our highest evolution. So the challenge with Saturn, Pluto conjuncting Saturn, coming up in Saturn, is going to be not resisting Pluto and letting it break down whatever it needs to break down with Saturn. It's just releasing all of that old, all the old, and allowing whatever the newness needs to be. And for some people, it's going to be a lot less structure. For some people, it will be more structure. Everybody will be different with this. Uranus. If Pluto is aspecting your Uranus, it could be in Aquarius by conjunction. If Pluto is aspecting Uranus, well, Uranus is all about the unconventional. It's all about the new. It's all about sudden change and sudden, information coming in. And what it will do is stimulate this very necessary change within you and help you have the passion that you need to break away from the old, from any old convention, old outdated beliefs, old ways of doing things, perhaps old relationships. Really depends on you where this is in your chart. And this one could be a bit of a bumpy ride because, well, both Uranus and Pluto are that way. Like Pluto is really deep and intense and profound, and Uranus is a bit chaotic. It can be very erratic. So with Uranus, there could be lots of times when there's just really psychic downloads too with Uranus and Pluto, because both of those rule that. There could just be these instant flashes of deep, profound knowledge that change you forever. It could be a minuscule amount of time, but it changes you for a whole lifetime. That one tiny experience held more in it than anything you've ever experienced before in your life. And you can't put it to words. You can't even necessarily articulate it, how deep it is and how profound it is. But these are the experiences of Pluto and Uranus coming into contact with one another. But yes, there could be periods of instability and of unrest and a bit of chaotic energy. You need to really, I think, take care of your health. I mean, it's like I've said this before, it's always a good time to take care of our health. It's always a good time to get plenty of sleep, lots of water, lots of good nutrition. But Uranus is the higher octave of Mercury, and Mercury and Uranus both rule over the nervous system. And with Pluto coming into contact with either your Mercury or Uranus is going to signify a time when there could be like I call it short wiring, like, have you ever heard that before in a human? I think that humans do this, and that's how some people kind of really lose touch with reality, where it becomes like psychosis. So obviously this is going to be the moon too. This could happen with the moon as well. It's going to be different for everybody. Everybody's charts are different and everybody is wired up differently, quote unquote. I'm using air quotations right now. But with Uranus, because Uranus is the higher octave of Mercury, and it does, I think in my opinion, rule over the nervous system, especially the etheric nervous system. I think that Uranus is more responsible for the more psychic component of our nervous system, whereas Mercury is more, my own personal opinion, nobody ever taught me this, so I just want to let you know that I think that Mercury is more like the actual physical nervous system, and Uranus is the higher, more etheric, and probably things that we've never discovered yet, nervous system, and it's more in tune and more of the antenna. Maybe it's the antenna on the DNA that taps into the etheric realm, the psychic realm. So I think that with Pluto coming up on Uranus, you need to really have a way of staying grounded. Yeah, I'll use that word a lot, but in touch with reality and really nourishing yourself properly, really feeding yourself, really reaching out for help if you need that, like talking to other people that you trust if you feel like you're going to if you're losing it, right? Neptune too, but I'll get to Neptune in a second. So yeah, so with Pluto aspecting Uranus, just watch for that. That could be the challenge, but also massive massive breakthroughs, that's the potential, like that's this highest, most beautiful potential of being able to get through to like a different dimension of your own consciousness that maybe you've never had before. So Neptune, when Pluto is going to come up on Neptune, so if you have Neptune by conjunction or other aspect, what Pluto wants to do again is transform. And Neptune is I've heard people say that Neptune is the higher octave of Venus, and I can see that with it being like a very love planet. It wants oneness, it wants that mysticism of the higher unity, the higher consciousness. And I think that Neptune is, like our mind's eye, our spiritual mind's eye here. I think that Neptune does represent that oneness, that unity, the whole cosmos. It's, Pisces in the chart, which is the whole cosmos, the whole ocean. And with Neptune, with Pluto coming up on Neptune, it's going to be able to help you, again, transform your vision of life, transform your spirituality, transform, how you view life, because in a lot of ways, Neptune is that vision. I know that it's also Sagittarius and also Jupiter, but Neptune is our spiritual vision. Neptune is our faith. Neptune is our ability to believe. It's our ability to dream. It's our ability it's also very interdimensional. Both Uranus to me and Neptune are. So again, there's that element of not staying grounded enough and losing touch with reality that you'll have to watch with Pluto, because Pluto, I think with Neptune too, there's this element of maybe a crisis through psychosis. And there's a really fine line between psychism and things like shamanism and things like psychosis. It's a really fine line. So being able to really take care of your mental health, your physical health is going to be important, and being able as well to be very open to, again, your psychism, again, interpretations through spirit that comes through you, the veil thinning, being able to access more of an ethereal element of life that maybe before you haven't been able to access, that door was never open for you, now is going to open for you. And you just have to be aware of that. You have to be aware of, again, just taking care of yourself and how the information comes in, and, just being aware that new information might be coming in, and try not to be scared of it and try to work with it. So with Neptune as well, there's going to be an inner transformation of your own beliefs, your own faith. Your own faith will really be both deconstructed and built up again. And then you'll start at a different point. So if Pluto is aspecting your ascendant, so let's say your ascendant again is Aquarius, which again I will get to by all the rising signs. If Pluto is aspecting your ascendant, it's going to obviously, if it's in your first house, change everything about you. But then it could also be squaring your first house. It could be trining it. There's a lot of different combinations. And the thing with Pluto is that Pluto can come across as really powerful, because Pluto is so powerful, and it can come across as very heavy-handed, very forceful, very controlling, very manipulative. Not to say that you're manipulative, but this archetype, if it's not expressed in its true, what I call its higher form, the lesser form is controlling. It is manipulative, deceitful, even underhanded. It works in the dark. That's why it rules the subconscious, because the subconscious is all that darkness. So if people don't understand you, they might take it the wrong way, that you're trying to control the situation, or they might take you as controlling. They might see you as trying to manipulate something. So just understand that, and just understand that might be how you are being perceived by others, and just be aware of that. Just using Pluto's power to your best benefit without manipulating others or trying to control a situation or trying to control others. With the ascendant, it could be also just a dramatic change in the circumstances of the life of the native. If Pluto is aspecting your descendant, and your most personal, intimate relationships will be affected by this, for the good or the bad. They could be profoundly changed too. And I see it mostly is because Pluto then usually is in your first house, so it's really shifting you, it's really changing you. But then it's also opposing your seventh house, and that in turn has consequence on your most intimate relationships, and that will shift them as well. So these people who are very important in your life and who are strongly influential in your life may be subject to great great pressures as well because of Pluto going through your first house. If Pluto is aspecting your MC or your midheaven at the top of your chart, it really could indicate dramatic changes to one's life or the course of one's life, because the midheaven up there is one of the indicators of many things. Could be career, could be the path in life, what you're seen or known for in the world. And when Pluto, because Pluto is such a powerhouse, it's going to come in and shift. And that if it's aspecting that either by, like if it's your ascendant that's in Aquarius, or if it's aspecting it somehow by square, by trine, it could really be shifting. There's a possibility and a potential for it to really shift this area of your life. Because Pluto is affluence and wealth and power, it could be this, a gain for you in authority, or as an authority figure, or suddenly be thrust into the spotlight as an influential person, or it could be a calamitous fall from power as well. That could happen as well. If it's aspecting your IC, so if you have your IC, which is the bottom of the chart, if you have that in Aquarius, or if you have it aspecting this again, there could be sextiles, trines, squares to it. This is so representative of an inner transformation, the transformation of foundation for you, of your inner security, of your home, perhaps your mothering, nurturing. Again, it could be parenting, nurturing as well. The way also you nurture yourself, we all have to nurture ourselves. We grow up, we become adults. We have to also take responsibility for self and take care of self. It'll help you also break from your past, right? Because the fourth house very much is ancestral. It represents the past. It's connected to the moon. The moon has domain here, and the moon is the past. One of the things that we look to in the chart for the past. It could also deal with upheavals in your family or family life or home life. So those are things to watch for with Pluto aspecting the IC. So again, as I record this right now, Pluto is just at the very early degrees, at about 2 degrees of Aquarius. So right now, if any of your placements are early degrees, or your IC or your midheaven, your descendant, then Pluto will be, or obviously your ascendant in Aquarius, then Pluto will be affecting these points more greatly than other points. But then as it moves along in the sign of Aquarius and it gets higher in degree, then that's when you take into consideration your other points that might be higher. Like maybe you'll have one of those points at 5 degrees or 10 degrees or 15 or 20 or 27. As Pluto moves along, I will come back and just remind everybody that then it will be aspecting this point at this time. But right now, Pluto will be aspecting exact around 2 to 3 degrees. And if you take a 5-degree orb, that means anything up till about 7 degrees, I would say, in any of those planets that I just said, and also those points, ascendant, descendant, MC, or IC. But you could also go back, right? So that means that would put it back anywhere from the beginning of Aquarius, 0 degrees, to about, I would say, if we add 5 degrees, till about 7 degrees. But it's Pluto, and Pluto is going to be felt more the closer that it gets. So I would say anywhere from 0 degrees of Aquarius till about 3 or 4 or 5 degrees is a good range. Again, of any of those planets and any of those house cusps that I just mentioned. I hope that this video helps you. I hope that it makes sense. It is a little bit more of I wouldn't say advanced, but maybe intermediary astrology. But just ask me questions. Any questions that you have, just ask me and I'll be available to answer them for you. Okay? Thank you for watching this video, beloved souls. I hope that you've learned something. I hope that it's helped you. Remember to ask your questions in the comment box below, and please make sure to subscribe and like and hit the notification bell, because I don't want you to miss your upload. Stay blessed, beloved souls.